We know how busy you all are, and that's why we devised these webinar shorts, because we want to be respectful of your time while also giving you actionable information and hot tips about ways you can use the data to streamline your strategies and processes and hopefully find some untapped revenue. So that's why we are doing this. A caution, though, that this is really very surface level because that's all we have time for in 20 minutes. So when you're ready to dive deeper, all you have to do is reach out to anybody at the RRC, and we'll be happy to connect with you and do a much deeper dive on your data and all the ways that you can use it. So without further ado, so that we can be respectful of your time, I'm going to kick it to David. A reminder that you can drop questions in the Q&A as we're going, or you can drop them in the chat. I'm going to be monitoring both. So either way is fine, and we will get to those as they come in if they're timely, and otherwise we can get to them at the end. We aim to finish the actual presentation at 20 minutes or even a couple minutes before, but we're happy to hang on if there are unanswered questions and we can chat some more. So without further ado, I'm going to turn it over to David.
Thank you, Molly, and thank you all for joining us this afternoon for our third webinar in the series. Excuse me, this one we're focusing on marketing and how to use your listener data to aid your marketing to drive growth within a budget. And I know that for a number of the folks that are joining us today, marketing is one part of your portfolio of duties. And so hopefully you can integrate this info with previous webinars and subject matter on membership growth and underwriting. Excuse me. So we know why we're here today, and whether or not your station has received CPV money in the past, we're in an economy that is tightening. Building stronger revenue pipelines is critical for every non-commercial station, especially with the fourth quarter coming very soon. The holiday shopping season is, in some stores, is already here, and projections are for a 5% reduction in consumer spending this holiday season. So you're competing for a lot of attention, and so we want to make sure that you are able to leverage your data to make your marketing endeavors really pop through. Our perspective is quite simple, as you can see on the slide. You can use data for a number of different executions, from identifying great locations for billboards if you're doing an out-of-home, out-of-doors campaign to reach a high volume of listeners where they spend their time in traffic on the road, discovering the average commute times, and perhaps collaborating with an underwriter for different special offers in AM and PM Drive. You can leverage data to tailor email and digital marketing campaigns based on your listener demographics, and then you can create segmented lists. Choosing fund drive thank you gifts that resonate with specific audience segments as well. Excuse me. And ultimately, developing strategic partnerships with compatible organizations for things like getting inclusions in their email blasts and program listings in exchange for serving as their media sponsor for any of their Q4 endeavors, including on-air and web promotion. That can be a very effective way. Getting into other organizations, especially compatible nonprofits, getting inclusion in their email databases and email blasts can be a very powerful way to generate additional awareness and audience sampling of your station. So how can you stretch your budget using smarter targeting? And as an example, talking about digital or direct mail campaigns, Nielsen data can illustrate your station's hot zip codes so that you are getting more efficiency from your budget for direct mail campaigns and digital marketing campaigns like low-cost meta ads. If you have any experience in running ads on Meta, you can target down to the zip code, which can be a very effective way to stretch the efficacy of your dollars in that environment. IQP reports can be great for identifying billboard locations, perhaps street furniture. You can look at things like, where do your listeners, or how much time do they spend in their cars each day going to and from work? Return to work mandates, return to office mandates have become the norm, and they're going to ramp up even further this fall. Where do they spend their time driving, on which roads? If there are local bus routes that match where your audience is spending their time driving, maybe bus backs are a viable alternative for you to run your messaging. If your listeners are working as rideshare drivers for Uber or Lyft, can you provide them with car magnets with your logo or a window cling so that the people that they're picking up and stepping into those vehicles are also exposed to your station's brand identity. IQP reports, again, very effective tools that you have access to. The index values show which roads and highways are going to be overperforming for your station, meaning where does the bulk of your audience spend their time in your communities. In smaller DMAs or metros, for example, you're going to have a fewer number of roads identified and higher percentages within them. In a larger metro area, it's going to be more widespread. So identifying the routes that people take most frequently to and from work and perhaps on weekends during leisure time is effective in identifying how to place your outdoor advertising and ad buys, and then layering in average quarter hour share, demographic data to guide those buys or your event promotion, especially if you're using, again, meta ads or Instagram, which is part of the same company. It allows you to reach a targeted audience in a very cost-effective way. Again, you can target down to the zip code. You can also just target within a city itself. You can do a city plus a radius surrounding that. It's a very efficient way to leverage those tight dollars to drive a result, especially if you have a major event coming up in which you're going to raise substantial revenue and you want to make sure that it is as well attended as it can possibly be. And the alternative is to make sure that you avoid overspending in places with low listener density so that you're not running any kind of campaign in places where the likelihood of a strong lift is quite low. Google ad grants, and I want to be upfront with this, Google does offer ad grants to nonprofits that can range up to $10,000 a month. If you're a university licensee, however, you will not meet their eligibility criteria, which is a bummer, but that is Google's rules. If you are operating independently and not licensed through a university, apply for a grant. We'll show you in an upcoming slide how to do so. But the application can be a little bit onerous. It can take you 20 minutes or so, but it's well worth it because up to $10,000 a month in free Google ads can be really powerful in building your email audience list, your database, reaching new listeners, driving casual listeners to become donors, and converting existing casual donors into monthly sustainers. You can develop campaigns for each demographic segment. You can use different creative messages. You can use different landing pages. So if you have, as an example, if your station offers recording services for local podcasts, you can have one campaign targeting that and a different campaign targeting an upcoming program, an event, or fund drive. And then using Nielsen data to highlight your station's strength in Google Ads. Again, if you are heavy in local sports coverage, if your station covers local high school sports in season, this is a great way to promote that piece. And you can use your Nielsen data to create targeting parameters, messaging parameters that are going to drive a result. And you should, in a matter of weeks, see a lift in when you look at your analytics for your station's website, see a lift in traffic as a direct result of those Google ads that are running in support of your station. I'm going to leave this up for a moment. This is where you scan this QR code. This will allow you to begin the process of applying for a Google ad grant. Again, as long as you're not a university licensee, you should be able to apply pretty smoothly, and they do answer relatively quickly. You should have an answer within a few weeks, and from there, they'll set you up with your account. You upload your info, start creating campaigns, and you're off to the races. If you're not familiar with Google Ads and how they work, there are tutorials they provide. You'll be able to figure out at least the basics relatively quickly. It's not terribly difficult, thankfully. Fund drive premiums, and upfront, we are certainly aware that budgets are getting tight. People are making cuts wherever possible. So there are stations that are moving away from offering premiums at all as thank you gifts, or they're using up what's still in stock at the station and not spending more money to acquire new premium items for fund drives. So having said that, leveraging your data, if you're planning to use premium items in an upcoming drive this fall or winter, use your age and lifestyle demographics to guide those choices that you make, and obviously within the budget that you have to spend. So are there, excuse me, environmentally conscious totes that people can use at the grocery store if you skew younger? Are there coffee mugs? Or I worked at a station that did oven mitts with a logo on them for the older users. People love them. Find what is going to appeal to your key demographics. And you can test the appeal performance by day part, excuse me, I apologize, for day part and demographic segmenting. And again, is there an opportunity in your marketing world to do some trade and work with an underwriter or a sponsor to create a co-branded premium? So there are, as an example, a logoed cooler, water bottles, which as people return to the office, carrying their water bottles with them instead of using plastic bottles that are used once, this can be a great way to extend the reach and awareness of your station through partnerships so that you're not having to lay out any cash. You can do these through trade arrangements that include spots in exchange for the premium item itself. Uh, and out of home items in particular, shopping bags are great, beach blankets, beach towels, if you're in an area that's warm more of the year than where I am. If you, whether it could be something small like a bumper sticker or a mouse pad, those things are all effective still. Excuse me. Use your data to improve the performance of your email campaigns. And so if you haven't done this yet, segmenting your email lists by their listening preference, their geography, their ages. It's a good rule of thumb anyway to go through and update your list at least a couple of times a year and make sure they're clean and segmented in a way that is effective for you, and the data you get from Nielsen can help you to do so. You can use your listener choice data to personalize the messaging so that the message that is being sent to a P1 listener is going to be a different call to action than a message that's going to be sent to a P2 or P3 listener. Track your open rates so you understand when your messages should be sent time-wise. Some email platforms will offer an optimal send time. If you opt in, MailChimp certainly does that. Depending on the mail service you use, take advantage of that and make sure it correlates with the data that you have. You can schedule resends to people that haven't opened the first email. You can create giveaways for email subscribers to build loyalty. That might be a great way to build loyalty among your P2 and P3 listeners or your casual donors that you're hoping that will grow into sustaining members. And obviously the value on a sustaining member is much higher. You can A/B test your subject lines to help improve your open rates. It seems simple. A lot of folks don't do this, and it ends up dropping your open rate. It's a pretty simple method to go through and then track which open rates are most effective. That messaging may be useful in other executions at the radio station, such as on-air promos and fund drive promotions in advance. So we're moving quickly here. In a marketing standpoint, what can you do action-wise? Where can you get started after this webinar is over? You can start by running an index report by zip code or by county to plan your outreach. Where is the bulk of your audience spending within your metro or DMA or your total survey area for that matter? You can run daypart loyalty for timing your on-air promos and emails. So as an example, a lot of public stations see a dip in listening between 10A and 3P. And perhaps launching an email during those times when people are at work and may not be thinking about putting the radio on through their browser, through their phone, through their Alexa, or through a traditional radio if they have one, to drive them to take a specific action can be an effective way to go. If there's a special guest at noon, for example, or a giveaway at 1 o'clock, this is an effective way to know when to time those emails for delivery. You can test 2 or 3 different premiums in your next fund drive, again, with the caveat that you may not be offering premiums in your next drive or using what's still available from previous expenditures. If you have the ability to test a couple of different premium items in the next fund drive using these audience segments, it's well worth it. And developing community partnership pitches based on the data. So if you've joined us in previous webinars, you've heard this mentioned previously, but join your local chamber of commerce if you're not a member, or find a breakfast club or a BNI group for networking that allows you to meet with potential underwriters and also develop ideas that can lead to partnership marketing opportunities that, again, get you into their email databases, that get you exposure to their audiences, listings and program guides for in-person charity events and fundraisers like a silent auction or a ball, things like that, and show these people the value in working with your station, the data that you have available, your TSL, your demographic strengths, the loyalty, the loyalty that your station has earned using your Nielsen data. These are all great ways to build these relationships and develop something that's going to be mutually beneficial for you and the partner that you're working with.
Hey, David, we've got a raised hand.
Sure.
So I think if this works like I think it will, I can allow you to speak and ask your question. And
Looks like they're still muted.
right. I'm probably going to really mangle the pronunciation of your name, and I'm sorry in advance, but in India.
So sorry, I think I may have done that on accident.
Okay, that's okay. I just wanted to make sure that if you had a question, we give you the opportunity.
My apologies.
Oh, no, it's all right. No problem.
Most importantly, did Molly pronounce your name correctly?
It was close. It was close. India, like the country.
Oh,
India.
beautiful.
Okay. All right.
Thank you, India. The QR code that you see on your screen now is a glossary of radio terms for folks that may not be fully up to speed on all of the various terminologies that we use or need a refresher. If there's new team members at your station or interns, this is worth bookmarking. This has a glossary of terms relevant to what we do in public radio and breaks down a lot of acronyms and provides explanations on what those terms mean. So I encourage you to visit that on the RRC's website. And lastly, unfortunately, Dave and Carl weren't able to join us this afternoon, but you can certainly reach out to those guys as well as to me to schedule your data consultation, ask questions. We're here to help, and it's not just going through the data with you. It's work. We want to work with you on how to implement the data to drive an effective outcome for you and your radio station. So by all means, please make note of this. The QR code, again, will take you to the corresponding page on our website with our contact info. We are always happy to help you and provide whatever resources we're able to in leveraging your data for an effective outcome.
That's the biggest point we want to get across. And right now I'm not seeing any questions, although Kyle's dropped a great tip into the chat if people want to go and just check that out. Kyle says something else you can look into is the creation of KML files with your audience and donor data. You can then load those into Google Earth Pro to see where your audience is strong or weak, and you get a great view of your impact.
That's really cool.
Yeah, very, very, very cool tip. Thanks for sharing that. And then Jerry says, digital out of home can get an out of home campaign launched quickly, but there's typically a rotation like a slideshow, a mix of other advertisers with yours. It's just a note from Jerry.
Yeah, that's true. Although in meta ads, you do have an option to select to not have your ad shown next to other businesses. So you can get a standalone placement that way. And
Jerry says, make the art direct. And I think that's a really, really good point. Like whatever your art is, make it very direct, very clear, because if it is in rotation like that, impression time will be short, and yeah, you want to be attention grabbing. So very good point.
Absolutely. The other thing I would add on that, and
he was discussing billboards. He says, "Oh, thanks for clarifying, Jerry."
One thing I want to make
digital billboards, yeah.
Gotcha. I want to make mention of in the digital space, if you're doing any digital, whether it's digital advertising or simply any web upgrades, SEO is evolving very quickly because of AI tools. And so it's really gone from SEO to AEO, which is answer optimized engine. I had that backwards, but you want your content on your website to really read as an answer to a question someone might put in a prompt, whether it's in a Google search or Perplexity or ChatGPT or Copilot or on down the line, so that it's not just a one-word, we play this. It's an explanation of a deeper explanation that would provide an answer to a pertinent question, such as, where can I record a podcast in my hometown? That's going to be a whole other webinar, which I'll use AI to generate down the line.
So really the point we wanted to get across here, and this is something that we are trying to make sure everyone understands, is that your audience data there's so much information in there, and there's a great deal that you can do with it. And that, our sense that we get is a lot of stations are kind of barely scratching the surface with what you can do with this audience data. And primarily using it for programming underwriting, but we want everybody to understand those are absolutely valid and important uses of the data, but you can use it for individual giving, fundraising, for planning fund drives, and for helping hone your marketing strategy. So there are lots of things that you can do with this. That's really the key message we're trying to get across. And so these are just a few ideas we wanted to throw at you. I'm not seeing any other questions in the chat. Yes, David.
Just one more thing I want to add, if I may, which is the data is so applicable across the board. And so if you aren't already doing so, collaborating with other disciplines within your station, programming, underwriting, membership, some of you are one and the same, I understand. But make sure that everyone that has access to the data understands the data and how to apply it, because it's one thing to have it and work in silo. It's another thing entirely to work collaboratively across disciplines to implement the data to its maximum benefit for your station.
Yep. So while David was presenting, I dropped a couple of suggestions into the chat as well. So I hope everybody saw those. And I did make a note that we are recording this, and the link to the recording will go out to all attendees and anybody who couldn't attend tomorrow. And then once we conclude the entire series, we'll post all the recordings online so people can refer to them as needed. So we're 3 minutes over now, so we didn't make our 20 minutes. But
we started at 2:03.
There was a lot of information here. We want to thank y'all for being with us today. And if you have any questions that you didn't get a chance to drop in the chat or the Q&A, you've got our contact information here on the screen. Please reach out to us anytime. We are always available to help you. And if you are planning to join us on Thursday for episode 4, we will look forward to seeing you then. Thanks for being here. If you're fundraising, good luck to all of you. All right.
Thanks, everybody.
Bye.